everybody. This is the name of my awesome talk. One of the last times I came out here, all of you assholes got me drunk in front of John Strand. Yeah, some people remember that. That was a lot of fun. So, 6 months later, look where I am now. Look what KC did for me. Yay! Shit, yeah. My name is Scantlin. For those of you who do not know me, I am or do the stuff you see on this slide in my free time. I like to go out and talk about the stuff that I do or am. So today I want to tell you about a very interesting incident response event that occurred while I was involved in at the university back in May of this year. So let's get cracking. So right here, I've got a high-level breakdown of the University of Missouri system. Check it out there on the left. And then the various organizational units involved in this story on the right-hand side over there, okay? So an interesting thing to note on this is that the IT pros are not a part of the division of IT, at least not yet, okay? Now, we used to be centralized back in the 90s. For whatever reason, we decided to decentralize that. Well, we decided that was a bad move. Now we're going back and centralizing everything again, putting everyone under the division of IT banner. Part of the reason why we are doing this is because there have been communication problems when certain situations come about. Ooh, foreshadowing. Now in the red here, we have the different organizational units involved. Okay, I'm showing you this to give you a better idea of how many fingers were in the pies that we will be talking about tonight. So, on May 25th, I got my very first real problem to solve at the Division of IT, all right? I was brought in to investigate an incident in progress. My introduction to this event was a super long email chain, like 25, 30 messages, okay? So, pour myself a cup of coffee and start reading, okay? The hospital side of things at the time was trying out a new next-gen firewall from Cisco, okay? Now this firewall detected what it considered to be Sweet Orange Exploit Kit activity. Show of hands, how many of you guys are familiar with the Sweet Orange Exploit Kit? A few of you guys, well, you were one up on me. I didn't have a damn clue what the Sweet Orange Exploit Kit was. I knew what exploit kits were, but never heard of the Sweet Orange one. But specifically, it detected that there was a hospital PC asking for a compressed Java file via GET request or report 63,000, okay? Not the best thing that you want to see whenever you don't know what's happening. So, not being familiar with what they were getting from that next-gen firewall, hospital networking team decided to contact their Cisco rep for advice, not the security team. Now, Cisco rep's response was pretty bleak, okay? In his or her opinion, because we are anonymizing all of this, the false positive rate was, quote, rare, okay? And since the traffic was flagged as a threat and not an indicator of compromise, he or she thought that this server was owned. As a brief aside, I love it when suits try to use hacker lingo in order to get their point across. Now, pretty sure that this is what he or she meant, but we knew what they were saying, so I digress. So based on that Cisco rep's response, okay, hospital networking team decided to take it upon themselves to take a deeper look into the library server. Sorry, that's my beard rubbing across the mic here. From which that compressed Java file was being requested, okay? Might be a little bit hard to see for you guys in the back, but what we're seeing right there is a 10 times increase in outbound traffic right around 9:30 a.m. on, I think that was May 22nd. So, kind of nasty. Or as Scooby would say, ruh-roh. Some pretty intense shit. So, maybe the Cisco rep was right. I don't know. So at this point in the email chain, we've got more people appearing. We've got different people showing. People are being clued into this. Now among them is the administrator of this library server, because nobody apparently thought to include this guy in the conversation at the beginning. So, this guy or gal is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing at the moment, catching up on the previous conversations through this long-ass email chain. And very understandably, this individual is freaking the fuck out because they have got various heads of various organizational units talking about how their server is compromised and it's possibly infecting hospital computers, okay? So, the administrator of our library server in question here, in a sort of, effort to try and get the situation resolved as soon as possible while still looking into things on his or her end, sends out the firewall rules for this library server. That's all the open ports that this library server had, okay? If you can't see in the back, some of those are ranges, okay? So we're easily talking a few thousand ports here. Yet more evidence that our Cisco rep is right. So, that brings us into the present, or at least what was then the present, and that's the past. Fuck it. This is where yours truly and the rest of my team come into the story, okay? So we suggest that those firewalls be modified ASAP to not be nearly as exposed to the world. Again, we don't know what it is that this server does, so who are we to say that it doesn't need all of those ports open, but we very much didn't think that was the case. So, told to clean up those rules, and we decided to arrange a meeting in person. Again, there was a lot of communication issues with what had gone on already, so we decided, let's just meet in person. Let's talk this out. Sometimes it's the best thing to do. So, while we were waiting for our meeting, because it was going to be a couple hours due to other meetings and lunch and all that shit, we decided to do some homework on our end, okay? So again, I already told you, we really didn't know what this library server was supposed to be doing, which was unfortunate. That would have given us some insight on possible attack vectors, or at least, why someone might have compromised that server. Would have given us a go on. Definitely would have helped us better understand the impact of any compromise, if there was one intent. And then furthermore, the scope of this issue, aside from communicating with some library server, was restricted to the hospital. But why? Okay, were they gunning for patient data? Were they trying to poise themselves better on the network in order to plant ransomware on hospital infrastructure? We had no idea, but based on what we have been shown so far, things were looking pretty shitty. So, what did we find out? Turns out that the Sweet Orange exploit kit only affects Windows machines, okay? And this library server in question was a Linux box. So, what could that have to do with anything, all right? For a brief moment, we actually thought that perhaps this library server was being used as some internal command and control server, but pretty quickly dismissed that, as we thought that any internal command and control server would have been a covert operation. We saw 10 times network outbound traffic increase. Probably not what was going on there. So we did a little bit more digging on that compressed Java file, okay? Found out that the name of that file was iiilauncher.jar. Anyone else in here in higher education? Just curious? Nope? Oh, a couple. Sweet. So, III launcher is in fact something that happens in higher education. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we could not find shit about this file online. Not a damn thing, okay? So at this point we're thinking, wow, we could be dealing with some real next level stuff here. This is pretty crazy, okay? So another thing that was bothersome was that while we had identified multiple hospital computers that were calling out to this library server for this compressed Java file, there were 2 IPs that we expected to see, but we didn't. Okay? Now, the section in blue here and the section in green down here, these are 2 different IP addresses. Okay? This is part of the email chain that I had to read through to hold on this situation. And we didn't see either of these IPs in the logs that we were looking at. So again, very strange. We weren't really sure what to think about that. So eventually, the owner of this resource arrives, and we sit down, we have a little chat, okay? We learn a bit more about this library server. We find out that it is some sort of database server that is used by all of the University of Missouri campuses, or their libraries anyway. We found out that backups were available, that they could restore for backup if need be, but that was going to take the university libraries down for 3 to 4 days. So we're trying to avoid that. Okay, that makes sense. Then we start asking some more questions about, what does this server do? What normally goes on? Here's the kicker, okay? We get told that for one of the applications that runs on this server, that when a client connects to it, what's supposed to happen? A client asks for a compressed Java file over port 63,000. Imagine that. That would have been great to know before. More so, we are also told that this server occasionally does some heavy lifting, okay? So this is some sort of, again, database server. Apparently, some pretty complex queries can be run against this server, and apparently, those can be pretty resource intensive. And those are usually saved for summer and winter breaks, when there's not students around, we don't have to worry about utilizing all that bandwidth. Wow. All of a sudden, things seem a lot less grim. Okay. So further analysis of those hospital computers that we saw calling out to that library server showed that they were all indeed hospital sciences library computers. Library. Okay, so despite our stalwart Cisco rep's opinion, it looks like we uncovered one hell of a false positive, didn't we? Those 2 IPs that we couldn't find earlier, okay, the one in the email subject line that was at the top there had nothing to do with this event. It turns out that the discussion revolving around this event was piggybacked on a completely separate email conversation. I don't know why. I don't think I'll ever find out why. The other one that we didn't see, that was in the green down there, for one reason or another, it was not correctly getting its logs sent into our Splunk instance. Hospital Networking took care of that. It is now shipping its logs quite happily to our Splunk instance, so now we can see that one too. And that network traffic, totally a resource-intensive query that had been run by a library administrator who did not tell anyone that they were running that query. So, what's interesting though, at least in my opinion, is that this isn't just a boy that cried wolf story, okay? As a direct result of this whole situation, we did discover that those library servers' firewall rules were woefully inadequate, or they had way too many ports open, okay? So the administrator inherited this resource and assumed that that resource was safe. Of course, we all know that that is a very poor assumption to make, but not everyone knows that. So, in addition, we went ahead and ran a Qualys scan against this library server. For good measure, found numerous level 4 vulnerabilities that needed patching. So, a little bit of a win on our side. So what can we learn from this super exciting tale? Okay? First off, know your environment. Okay? Hospital networking really should have taken a step back out of the weeds in this issue and realized that this was one library computer talking to multiple library computers talking to another library server, okay? Now that shouldn't have completely dismissed what that next-gen firewall was reporting, but it definitely should have reduced the amount of alarm that was felt by that hospital networking staff, okay? Now this leads into lesson 2, okay? Don't sound the alarm bells until you know a situation merits alarm. Again, those automated alerts were coming from this next-gen firewall that we were testing, okay? Again, hospital networking should have realized that the potential for false positives is going to be pretty high, not only when you're testing something, but again, we're higher education. We do a lot of weird shit on the network that most people don't do. So, something to think about there. And while the next lesson wasn't really learned here, its importance is highlighted in this event. All of the critical resources in your environment should be audited on a regular basis, okay? Now, it turns out that this server was enrolled in Qualys, but had simply not hit the top 10, bad resources in Qualys at the time. So, fortunately, we have things way worse to deal with this than this. But that's something that you guys need to be doing. And of course, as your organization grows larger, that becomes more of a hassle for us. Qualys, our pricing increases with each IP that we enroll in Qualys. So there's some risk checks that are put in there, determining what goes in and qualities. And then next, I believe that more efficient communication would have solved this problem a lot faster, okay? If the administrator of this library server had been clued into what was going on from the very beginning, it's quite possible that they would have been able to digest all of this information in a much more calm manner and determine that the traffic that we were seeing was normal, okay? All of that being said, this event proves that even if the initial, thing that you go in to investigate turns out to be benign, there may be other issues that you discover throughout the course of your investigation, okay? We ended up instinctively using our skills, our team did, to discover as much information about this particular incident as possible and about the resources involved. And as a direct result of that, we were able to take care of those firewall rules. We were able to patch those level 4 vulnerabilities. And then finally, trust your instincts, trust your experience, okay? At the end of the day, I really do think that this particular Cisco rep's comments are what spurred people into action too quickly, okay? Now again, I can't say anything bad about them. They were just doing what they thought they could do to help, but your sales rep is not your security team, okay? Holler at your security team instead of your rep for that. That is all I've got. Questions? Comments? Anyone? Oh, someone. Someone give him a mic. I'm deaf as shit.
So, what significance was Sweet Orange at the end of it?
Absolutely nothing aside from the fact that the next-gen firewall just mistakenly classified that traffic as associated with the Sweet Orange exploit connectivity. And I'm assuming that that has to do with the fact that we were requesting a compressed Java file over a non-standard port using HTTP. But again, that's the whole thing. On one hand, we were testing this firewall, so I think if anyone out here is testing some product, they should be a little bit more wary about the output that they're getting from that product. But then again, anyone who is also in higher education you can't do this shit to me. You guys did this to me with John Strand.
Long time tradition, take a shot.
I'm only doing this because I love all of you. But yes, higher education is weird. We do a lot of weird shit. We do a lot of atypical shit, is what I should say. But it was simply a false positive from that router based on the traffic that I witnessed.
Was that really a Meraki device?
Was that really a what?
A Meraki device.
Meraki.
Cisco Meraki.
I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. That's how, I guess, split the organizational units are at the university, unfortunately, for better or for worse. Again, on the one hand, it does alleviate some of my responsibilities, but on the other hand, I'm as curious as everyone else in this room. So there are a lot of days where I wish I knew a lot more about what different organizational units deal with. Well, thank you very much for your time, guys. Have an awesome night.